Charge the children. All right, let's continue. Let's yeah. All right, this is a nice site. It's called Nawabian. I've just found it by basically typing up Canaan, the curse of leprosy, etc. And they begin by saying, the true curse of Canaan has nothing to do with dark skin. It is a curse of the Caucasian and explains your pale skin. Ham's son Canaan and all his seed are cursed with leprosy. All the references are there in your Torah and can be detailed. This is 2 Kings, I believe. 5 verse 27. The leprosy therefore of Naaman shall cleave unto thee, and unto thy seed forever. And he went out from his presence a leper, as white as snow. 2 Luke 4:27. As many lepers were in Israel, aka Canaan, in the time of, because Canaan, Israel, it's not over there, it's here. In the time of Elisus the prophet, and none of them was cleansed, saving Naaman the Syrian. Numbers 12 verse 10. And the cloud departed from off the tabernacle, and behold, Miriam became leprous, white as snow, and Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous. Now let me just jump to something real quick. So Miriam becomes leprous, and we know that one case Miriam and Aaron actually become leprous. In the Bible talks about Miriam becoming leprous. What happened was she noticed that Moses wasn't, being with his wife intimately, and for the better for him, like she wasn't coming at him evil or anything, but she just talked badly about him to Aaron, her brother, regarding that. So the Most High did punish her, as pious and righteous as she was. So let's just read Miriam's punishment real quick, and yeah, let's go. God now gently rebuked Aaron, and try to follow along, and Miriam for their transgression, and did not give vent to his wrath until he had shown them their sin. This was an example to a man never to show anger to his neighbor before giving his reason for his anger. The effects of the Most High's wrath were shown as soon as he had departed from them, for while he was with them, his mercy exceeded his anger, and nothing happened to them. But when he was not long with them, punishment set in. Both Aaron and Miriam became leprous, for this is the punishment ordained for those who speak ill of their neighbors. Aaron's leprosy, however, lasted for a moment only, for his sin had not been as great as that of his sister, who started the talk against Moses. His disease vanished as soon as he looked upon his leprosy. Not so with Miriam. Aaron in vain tried to direct his eyes upon her leprosy in this way to heal her, for in her case the effect was the reverse. As soon as he looked upon her, the leprosy increased, and nothing remained but to call for Moses' assistance, who was already to give it before being called upon. Aaron therefore turned to his brother with the following words: Think not that the leprosy is on Miriam's body only. It is as if it were on the body of our father Amram, whose flesh and blood she is. Aaron did not, however, try to extenuate their sin, saying to Moses, Have we, Miriam and I, ever done harm to a human being? Moses, no. Aaron, if we have done evil to no strange people, how then canst thou believe that we wish to harm thee? For a moment only did we forget ourselves and acted in an unnatural way toward our brother. Shall we therefore lose our sister? If now here, please pay attention. If Miriam's leprosy doth not now vanish, she must pass all her life as a leper. For only a priest who is not a relative by blood of the leper may under certain conditions declare her clean. But all the priests, my sons and I, are her relatives by blood. The life of a leper is as of one dead. The life of a leper is as of one dead, for as a corpse makes unclean all that comes in contact with it, so too the leper. Alas! So Aaron closed his intercession. Shall our sister who was with us in Egypt, who with us intoned the song at the Red Sea, who took upon herself the instruction of the women while we instructed the men, shall she now, while we are about to leave the desert and enter the promised land, sit shut out from the camp? After reading this, I just wanted you guys to understand how serious leprosy is. It further goes down to say that Miriam, she, like I said, she didn't have evil intent, but the Most High wanted to teach Israel a lesson as a whole, since such a righteous woman went through that. It's a serious deal. It would have been the life of lepers as of one dead. All right, we're right back to this Nubian website. The curse of Ham isn't about dark skin, but rather the disease of leprosy, of which a side effect causes whitened skin. Reverend S.C. Blackledge, who stated in his book, An Open Book on Hidden Mystery, page 55, that Canaan is a cursed albino seed that spawned the Caucasian race. Albinism and vitiligo was known as white leprosy, of which this particular form of leprosy is now referenced as alphos. God delivers them to you, and you defeat them. You must doom them to destruction, grant them no turns, and give them no quarter. This is what you shall do to them. You shall tear down their altars, smash their pillars, cut down their sacred posts, and consign their images to the fire. You shall destroy all the peoples that the Lord your God delivers to you. Show them no pity. The Lord your God will dislodge these people before you little by little. You will not be able to put an end to them at once, else the wild beasts would multiply to your hurt. The Lord your God will deliver them up to you, throwing them into utter panic until they are wiped out. He will deliver their kings into your hand, and you shall obliterate their name from under the heavens. That's what we were supposed to do. We were supposed to obliterate their name from under the heavens. They're not even supposed to be alive right now. But because we did not do that, which is also in the Bible, let me see. Let me get it real quick for you. All right, let's just fix. All right, so I just want to read down. All right. Those of the inhabitants who were not put to the sword by the Israelites fled to Egypt and sought refuge there. Now, when they say Egypt, they don't mean the Egypt that was destroyed, Atlantis Egypt. They mean the Egypt legit. Let me go to the map real quick. All right, brothers and sisters, I'm showing this map to you to show the way where Phoenicians basically their travels. Okay. Now, first, you're tuned in now. I gotta say this in the beginning, but but I hope. Well, if you're tuned in now, what I can say to you is please continue to watch this. I know this is a sensitive topic, leprosy and stuff like that, but we're learning who we are. Now it's time to learn who our enemy is. Our enemies are Canaanites. Our enemies are so-called Caucasians. We need to understand this because our people have been desensitized. We don't understand who these people are. They aren't us. They're supposed to be dead. They're not even supposed to be alive right now. The Most High does not care about these people. He wanted us to obliterate their name from under the heavens. It's just the truth. The more you dig, like literally this video, various parts of Palestine. On a high note in the northern Samarian hills in the heart of the Israelite settlement region, on an open cult place has been found, which perhaps one of the four examples known as high places, etc. Bronze statues of bulls are to be found throughout Canaanite culture, particularly of Hazor and Ugarit. In the History of Denmark by Sum, published in 1775, the arrival of the Canaanites in Scandinavia is recorded. Messenius says that the Canaanites, which were driven out by Joshua, came to Scandia. Was Scandia on here at least? Dang, Scandia's not even on here. Came to Scandia, which they called henceforth Scandinavia. This is supposed to have happened 40 years after the flood, and Angrim Janae, the learned Icelander, insists that the Canaanites driven out by Joshua were the first inhabitants of the north, and I'm thinking North America maybe is what they meant, but it cuts it off right here. I'm gonna have to look deeper into that. And it says, by the time Gathalus and his followers reached Germany in the decades immediately after following the Exodus, they found the Canaanites already in residence there. They, Gathalus, Scada, and their followers, went at last till they reached Germany. They made a halt in it. It is there that there came a troop of the soldiers of the picked folk, a name the Canaanites were called by other nations. Now, prior to this, I read that these picked folk um, were also known as Thracians, and they were tatted up barbarians, basically. Another name for these people are Pict folks, and they wear tattoos and stuff. In the Pict folk, um, uh, on account of the fame and glory of that sea expedition of Galam, they having had knowledge. Matter of fact, let me pause real quick. Okay, I just want you guys to see something. Look at this dude. He's tatted up. He's pale. He's pale and he's tatted up. The Pict folk were described as barbarous savages who were also tatted up. Just things like that. Just things like that. But let me continue where I was. Fierce and warlike, they're extremely barbarous. So back to this. As I said, the curse of Ham is not about dark skin, but rather disease. Where does it state in the Tanakh the nature of a curse against the nature of this curse against Canaan, other than the land of Canaan being riddled with leprosy in the book of Leviticus? The land of Canaan, aka Israel, aka here in the Americas, of course being where Ham's son settled. Definition 2 of Strong Concordance defines the word Canaan as the follows: the land west of the Jordan, peopled by the descendants of Canaan and subsequently conquered by the Israelites under Joshua. And Leviticus 14 verse 34 confirmed that the land was riddled with leprosy. As defined, the land was not conquered by the Israelites until the book of Joshua. So clearly the Leviticus biblical verse 14 verse 34 is the only consenting reference and defines a plague that which could be considered the curse of Canaan as prophesied. Ye become When Aaron heard of the death of his sons, he said, all Israel saw thee at the Red Sea, as well as at Sinai, without suffering injury thereafter. But my sons whom thou didst order to dwell in the tabernacle, a place that a layman may not enter without being punished by death, my sons entered the tabernacle to behold thy strength and thy might, and they died. God hereupon said to Moses, tell Aaron the following, I have shown thee great favor and have granted thee great honor through this, that thy sons have been burnt. I assigned to thee and thy sons a place nearer to the sanctuary, before all others, even before thy brother Moses. But I have also decreed that whosoever enters the tabernacle without having been commanded, he shall be stricken with leprosy. Wouldst thou have wished thy sons, to whom the innermost places had been assigned, to sit as lepers outside the encampment as a penalty for having entered the Holy of Holies? When Moses imparted these words to his brother, Aaron said, I thank thee, O God, for that which thou hast shown me in causing my sons to die, rather than having them waste their lives as lepers. It behooves me to thank thee and praise thee, because thy loving kindness is better than life. My lips shall praise thee. Numbers 5 verse 2.
It was extraterrestrials that made the Caucasus lepers 6,000 years ago. These extraterrestrials who mixed their DNA with humans recorded in their Torah, Gospel, and Quran. One of whom they called Ziasudra or Utnapishtim, Noah, of the flood, was born with an illuminated body, read in the book of Enoch, shining crystal and would transfigure, shape-shift when he 17:7, satyrs, pan, goat men. So Ham was not supposed to see Noah in transfigured state as Jesus let his followers see him. Matthew 17:1-2, Mark 9:2-13, and Luke 9:28-36. Ham was used to birth a fourth son, Laban or Canaan the albino, genetically diseased with leprosy, Leviticus chapter 13, and would mix with the evil extraterrestrials, giving them this deadly disease to eliminate them. Canaan is the father of the Canaanites or Caucasus race, cursed with baris, leprosy. So in fact they were bred to be a germed man to spread the destructive physical disease, and the Kamahu, Pleiadians, quarantined them for 4 cycles of 6,000 years, or 24,000 years that would have removed these devils off the planet Earth. Actually these Kamahu, Pleiadians, were under the as in Genesis 24:3, and I will make thee swear by the Lord, the God of heaven, and the God of the earth, that thou shalt not take a wife unto my son of the daughters of the Canaanites, among whom I dwell, and spread their genes and sicknesses and diseases and evil wicked way of doing and thinking. Genesis 6:4-5, America in the South. During the civil wars of much racism, you find in the southeast of America, a group of devils called the Secret Six: Thomas Wentworth Higginson, Samuel Gridley Howe, Theodore Parker, Franklin Benjamin Sanborn, Garrett Smith, and George Luther Stearns, who represent the Viking, or VI King, which is six kings thinking. They subdivide into many groups world over, moved and mixed their diseased leper blood, took over others' lands, names and religions. They are Pakakasu, and in the Bible Pa-ka-anu. So you see, both of Canaan's parents had recessive, not dominant genes. The Bible, Torah, describes Canaan's leprosy as having white skin in Leviticus 13:4, where it says, "If the bright spot be white in the skin of his flesh, and in sight be not deeper than the skin, and the hair thereof be not turned white, then the priest shall shut up him that hath the plague 7 days." And for those who will try to say that it doesn't say white in the original language, you are wrong, because the word being used in Aramaic, Hebrew, in this quote for white is laban, meaning white. Leviticus 13:30 says, "In part, and there be in it a yellow thin hair, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a dry scall, even a leprosy upon the head or beard." The word being used here for yellow is zawob, meaning yellow, blonde, hair. They even go as far as describing the texture of this yellow hair and says that it sezwazdak, which means thin or fine. Now you tell me, if white skin, and yellow or blonde, thin or fine hair describes a Moor? You can't, because when the Bible is speaking of leprosy, they are referring to the cursed Canaanite. Leprosy affects the skin, the eyes, and the mucous membranes of the nose and throat. It mainly affects the nerves. Labana, Canaan, was born pale, and an albino with vitiligo, and received the curse of leprosy and servitude. The Ashuric Syriac, Arabic, word albino is amhak, which is from the root word mahaka, and means albino. However, the Aramaic, Hebrew, word is laban, meaning white. That is why he was originally named Labana, white as milk, by his parents Ham and Halima. According to the American Heritage Dictionary, albinism is defined as 1. Congenital absence of normal pigmentation or coloration in a person, an animal, or a plant. 2. The condition of being an albino. French albinism, from German albinismus, from albino, albino, from Portuguese. According to the Taber's Encyclopedic Medical Dictionary, it means albino, an organism lacking normal pigmentation, such as a person having abnormally pale skin, very light hair, and lacking normal eye coloring. Albinism is a hereditary condition in which an organism cannot produce pigment, color. Only individuals with 2 albino genes have this disorder. Albinism, Portuguese from Latin albus, white. Absence of pigment in the skin, hair and eye, partial or total. Albinism is a hereditary condition in which an organism cannot produce pigment, color. Leprosy is defined as a chronic, mildly contagious granulomatous disease of tropical and subtropical regions, caused by the Bacillus Mycobacterium leprae, characterized by ulcers of the skin, bone, and viscera, and leading to loss of sensation, paralysis, gangrene, and deformation. Middle English leprous, from leprous, leprous. There are many forms of leprosy that are not openly accepted as such by the medical profession today. These forms are encountered every day, such as oral herpes or eczema. Labana, Canaan, lacked pigmentation. He was melanin recessive, so his skin became pale and translucent, making it possible to see the veins. Canaan's descendants had straight, 6 ether, light hair as a result of leprosy. Canaan himself didn't have straight hair, he had woolly hair. He was still a Moor, just an albino, though he carried the gene that caused his descendants to be born with leprosy. His 4th son, Amor, was the father of the Amorites, and his brother Jebus was father of the Jebusites, Exodus 25. You will not prostrate yourself to them nor serve them, for I Yahuwah your Elohim am a jealous El, the one visiting the iniquity of the father upon the children up to the 3rd and 4th generation of them that hate me. Exodus 25 is talking about the 4th son. This implication is that it's talking about a certain group that was being cursed, and it was the Amorites. The curse will fall on the 4th generation, genealogy, meaning father to son. So the curse wasn't upon Ham, it was upon his 4th son Labana, Canaan, Genesis 15:16. Leviticus 14:34. Labana, Canaan, was a clean type of leper, meaning civilized. In Haran there was the unclean leper, and they were unclean all the way back to the Caucasus Mountains and its surrounding areas. These unclean lepers of animalistic nature walked on all 4s, ate raw flesh no matter whether it was clean or unclean, and were covered with raw open sores. They were literally half animal and half man because of bestiality. This is why lepers and the seed of Labana, Canaan, are called mankind. Man is the civilizer of mankind, from your dark-haired and dark-eyed, to your light-haired and light-eyed, to your albinos, lacking eye color and hair color. Throughout history, the original inhabitants of the ancient Canaan and their descendants to leave those countries and go back into the shadows of the caves. That is the real reason they are building indoor malls and shopping centers, underground tunnels, underground subways, and housing complexes with stores in them, making where you will not even have to leave your home. All of this is pulling the Canaanites out of the sun. Because they cannot survive under the sun, they have to get off the surface of the earth and go where the climate is conducive to their conditions. Thus, they are going back to what they originally were, and that is cave dwellers. The new Babylon is in the west. It is filled with as much devilishment as the city of Sodom and Gomorrah of Lot and Abraham's time. This is why you as Moors must not become a part of it, or have your children subjected to it. These disagreeable beings are cold, heartless, and malicious. Murder is taken very lightly in most cases where people are killed. For instance, with all the wars that have happened between the Arabs and the so-called Jews, Jebusites of Canaan, the land of Palestine is still being bombed today. The so-called Jews, who are really from Germany, do not want to stop the wars. They are trying to convince the world that Palestine is really theirs when it is not. This is the nature of the Canaanite and his seed, and they are regressing back to their original state. You know that the sons of Canaan know who they are and where they came from. You should have known that there was something different about him when you realized that he could not live under the sun. Think about it. They claim they were the first people on the planet Earth. Why would God allow his chosen people to get burned or catch all types of skin cancers from the sun, which is something that this same God created to sustain the life on the planet Earth? Are you saying that God made a mistake? That he didn't know that the sun would have those effects on his chosen people? It doesn't add up, and they know this. That is why he has you worshipping his image. And now with the coming forth of the sun cycle, he knows his 6,000-year rule is almost over. The Melanite recessive race has to hurry up and move underground or he will be burned up by the sun. He is afraid that you will take over. Why else would he want you under so much control? It is because he is jealous of you. He knows that if he gives you an inch, you will find a way to take a mile. That is why he steals everything from you and takes the credit for it. As in the case of Egypt, he knows that Moors are responsible for the construction of all those great civilizations, yet he tries to say that it belongs to them, and will do everything to make you believe that. Why would you suppress someone if you are not intimidated by them? That's why he is trying all kinds of ways to keep you and your children under the spell. For what other reason would he not want you to get ahead in life? There wouldn't be any other reason other than jealousy. Stop wanting to live in the image of the beast. Live in the image of your own great ancestor. Stop trying to be like him, dressing like him, walking and talking like him, dyeing your hair blonde, piercing your lips, tongue, eyebrows, and multiple places on your ears. Stop dressing in gothic black and motorcycle boots, and altering your appearance to look like his. The Anakim have done an excellent job in making you hate yourself. Start being yourselves. Build your own nation, get your own culture, create your own style of dress, and eat your own foods. When will you realize that he does not, and will not ever accept you in his society? No matter how much you try to emulate him, you will not be fully accepted.
Yeah, I remember you did an interview recently where you talked about some of the, the racist things that people have said about black people and monkeys and so forth. But you said when you actually scientifically look at white people, monkeys are hairy. White people are the hairiest people
on Earth.
On Earth. I am really hairy. Like, no, seriously.
I don't shave.
No, I shave I'm shaving
right
now.
I
got hair on my back,
coming up
my
up
chest
through
is all hairy.
The hair coming up
hair on my ears,
collar. Okay, these were highly overlooked similarities.
Yeah, the big ears. White people usually have big ears.
Bigger ears around.
Monkeys have thin lips. White people, I have thin lips.
Yes.
So really, I look more like a monkey than anyone else. But but then there's the whole racist stereotype that
and it start with the fully hairy bodies, the huge ears,
I have big ears,
and the person who wants. Look at my ear here. How big is that?
Pretty small.
All right. Yeah. And people say, well, how about Obama? He's the first black president, and he's got big ears. He's exactly half white.
Well, we
call him a black president.
Well, no, his dad comes from Africa.
His
mom
exactly
is totally white. He's exactly half
white.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
No doubt those big ears come from his mama. Okay. So the point is, I'm just saying, look how easy it is to be racist.
Right.
And take a look at a chimpanzee's lips. They're razor thin. All right. And we've got some very famous large-lipped black people, Jay-Z among them. All right. I don't have small lips. So they overlooked so much.
Yeah.
Okay. I got to add one just while you went there. So I'm going to add one.
Let's go.
Do you know lice outbreaks are 30 times more likely in white people than in black people?
Really?
The lice just don't enjoy black hair.
Okay.
For whatever reasons, it is 30 times more likely. Okay, just if you put lice in the hair, it'll want to go to the white people's hair. We ever see chimpanzees pruning each other?
Oh yeah, they pick the
They're
lice
picking out the lice, and
right.
apparently lice is tasty because they eat it.
How are his hidden things sought out? Now, I consider that, I believe, is the key to the book. For I'm faint. Therefore was his name called Edom. Edom means red, or sunburned, actually. And Jacob said, sell me this day thy birthright. And Esau said, behold, I'm at the point to die. And what profit shall this birthright do to me? And Jacob said, swear